Moving into a new house as a kid should be exciting, a fresh start, a new adventure. But looking back, I wish we had never moved there. I wish I had never found the treehouse. It wasn't some flimsy wooden platform. It was a fully built structure with a slanted roof, real windows, and a hatch-style door that latched shut. The previous owners had left it behind, and to me, it felt like a hidden sanctuary. But that treehouse was not normal, and neither was the Marshmallow Man. The first note, First time I climbed up, I found a small, crumpled note wedged between the wooden planks. The paper was old, yellowed at the edges, and written in crayon. "Hi, my name is the Marshmallow Man. Do you want to be my friend?" I should have ignored it, I should have burned it. But instead I played along. I wrote back, "Sure." The next day another note appeared. "What's your favorite color?" For a week this became a game. I'd answer a question, and the next day a new note would appear. "What's your favorite food? Do you like dinosaurs? What's your favorite movie?" The handwriting was messy, like a little kid's, and for a while it felt innocent. But then the questions changed. "What's your favorite room in your house?" Something about that question made my stomach twist. I hesitated, but eventually wrote, "My bedroom." The next day, the note read, "What side of the bed do you sleep on?" I stopped playing the game. The nightmare begins. That night, something woke me up. Tap, 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 GHT knocking on my window. At first I thought it was a tree branch. But when I turned my head, I felt the air leave my lungs. Outside in the darkness, someone was staring at me. A man. His skin was pale and sagging. His hair was thin and grey, and his teeth, yellow, rotting, some missing altogether, were curled into a grin. His hand lifted, one long, filthy fingernail tapping the glass. Tap, tap, tap. My body refused to move. I wanted to scream, but the sound caught in my throat. He wasn't blinking, he wasn't moving. He was just watching. Then, slowly, he tilted his head, as if he was waiting for me to answer. The investigation. The second I regained control, I screamed so loud my throat burned. My dad burst into the room, flipping on the lights, but by the time I pointed at the window, the man was gone. The police came. They searched the yard. No footprints, no signs of anyone. They told my parents. It was probably a bad dream, but I knew what I saw. The next day I refused to go into the treehouse. My dad, frustrated, climbed up himself to prove nothing was wrong. He found one last note. "Why won't you play with me anymore?" That was the last time I ever went near that treehouse, but sometimes, late at night, I still hear it tap, 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 and I wonder if the Marshmallow Man is still out there, waiting. Every kid dreams of having their own treehouse, a place to escape, to play, to imagine. That's why, when my dad built one for me, it felt like a dream come true. It wasn't just a simple wooden platform. It had walls, windows, a real door that locked from the inside. My own private world, high above the ground. But I wasn't the only one up there, and I wasn't the only one calling it home. The imaginary friend. It started with Jake. I was 6 when I told my parents about him. "Jake lives in the treehouse," I said one night at dinner. My mom smiled, assuming I had an imaginary friend, but my dad frowned. "Jake?" he asked. "Where did you hear that name?" I shrugged. He told me. That night, my dad went out to the treehouse with a flashlight. I heard the boards creak as he climbed up, the beam of his light flickering through the windows. I wasn't scared. I didn't think I had done anything wrong. He came back pale, quieter than usual. "Stay inside after dark," was all he said. The offerings for weeks. I spent every afternoon in the treehouse, and every day I'd leave something behind for Jake. Sometimes a sandwich, a juice box, a small toy. Every morning it would be gone. At first, I thought it was raccoons. But the food was never scattered or half-eaten. It was just gone. One night I woke up thirsty and went to the kitchen for water. As I passed the back door, I glanced outside and saw a shadow moving in the trees, something climbing down from my treehouse. The malnourished child, I told my dad the next morning. He didn't act surprised. Instead, he grabbed his rifle and walked straight to the treehouse. I watched from the yard as he climbed up, shoving the door open. Then he froze. I had never seen my dad afraid before. But at that moment, he looked terrified. I saw him turn his head toward the window and whisper, "It's okay, buddy. "You can come out." The next thing I saw haunts me to this day. A boy, thin, pale, covered in dirt, crawled out of the treehouse and ran into the woods. He never looked back. The investigation, the police were called. They searched the woods for hours but found nothing. No footprints, no signs of a camp, no evidence a child had ever been living there. But the strangest part? They checked records for missing children in the area. There were none. I never went. Back to the treehouse. My dad tore it down a week later, but sometimes when I pass those woods, I swear I still hear it. The quiet creak of wooden boards and the sound of something moving up there, waiting. I had outgrown my childhood treehouse long ago, but I never really stopped using it. Even in college, when I'd come home for the summer, I'd climb up there to get away from everything. It was my hidden retreat, high up in the trees, hidden from view, completely silent. I never imagined that being up there would save my life. The break in it was past midnight when I snuck out to the treehouse. My parents were asleep, and I didn't want them knowing I was smoking up there. The air was cool, and the town was dead silent, just the occasional car passing on the highway. Then I heard it, a soft shuffling in the backyard. At first, I thought it was an animal, but when I looked down, my blood ran cold. Two men, dressed in black, standing at our back door. One of them pulled something from his pocket, a crowbar. I barely had time to react before he jammed it between the doorframe and forced it open. Trapped in the treehouse. My mind was racing. I could feel my pulse hammering in my throat. I grabbed my phone and called 911, whispering as quietly as I could. Two guys just broke into my house. The dispatcher's voice was calm. "Where are you right now?" I swallowed hard. "I'm in the treehouse. They don't know I'm here. Stay hidden," she said. "Police are on the way." I could hear them inside now, footsteps moving through the kitchen, opening drawers, cabinets, looking for valuables. Then one of them spoke. "Check the bedrooms. The mistake that almost got me killed." I could hear my parents sleeping inside. I wanted to scream, to warn them, but I was frozen in fear. My hands were shaking so badly that my phone slipped. It hit the wooden floor with a loud thud, and just like that, the whispering inside stopped. My stomach twisted. Then I heard it, the back door opening again. Footsteps, coming outside, coming toward the treehouse. The climby held my breath, a voice from below. "There's someone up there." Then, creaking, the ladder shook as someone started climbing up. I looked around for anything, a weapon, a way to escape, anything. My phone was still in my lap, the call with 911 still open. I could barely think. My brain screamed at me to move, but I was frozen until I saw it. My bong, I didn't think. I grabbed it with both hands and waited until I saw fingers gripping the top of the hatch. Then I swung, hard. The glass shattered as it smashed into his face. He screamed, losing his grip and falling backward. His partner cursed. But before he could do anything, we all heard it. Sirens! The sound of tires screeching in the driveway. The two men bolted into the trees. The aftermath. The cops found footprints, but the robbers were long gone. My parents were shaken but unharmed. They hadn't heard a thing until the sirens arrived. The police said I was lucky. If I hadn't been up in that treehouse, I might have been the first one they found. I never climbed into that treehouse again, because now, when I look at it, all I can think about is how close I came to dying in there. When you're a kid, your backyard feels like another world, a safe haven where nothing bad can happen. That's how I felt about mine. It wasn't huge, but it had a big treehouse, built years before I was born. My dad always joked that it had been there so long it probably had stories of its own. One night I learned that was true, and I never slept in the treehouse again. Sleeping outside, I was angry. My parents had grounded me for something dumb, and in my dramatic 10-year-old mind, I decided I was going to run away. Not far, just to the treehouse for the night. I packed a flashlight, a pillow, and a blanket. It was a warm summer night. The stars shining through the gaps in the wooden planks. The air was still, too still, but I didn't care. I was in my own little world until I woke up to someone calling my name. The man at the ladder, it was a voice I didn't recognize, deep, raspy, almost playful. I sat up, heart pounding. The treehouse was pitch black, my flashlight still clutched in my hand. Then I heard it again. Come down. A figure stood at the bottom of the ladder, tall, motionless, staring up at me. I couldn't see his face, just a dark silhouette against the yard lights. My mouth went dry. Then he stepped onto the first rung of the ladder. Creak, slow, deliberate. He was climbing up, paralyzed with fear. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Step by step he climbed higher. Creak. Then in the dim light I saw it. His hands, long fingers, filthy nails, moving too slow like he wanted me to watch. I wanted to scream, but I was frozen in place. Then a voice from the house. Hey, who's out there? The figure stopped. For a long moment he just stood there on the ladder. Then he turned and disappeared into the darkness. By the time my dad came outside, there was no one there. The police investigation, we called the police. They searched the yard, the fence line, even the neighbor's property. No footprints, no signs of anyone, but I knew what I saw. And when we checked the treehouse the next day, there was something carved into the wooden floor. One word, soon. Who was he? The police never found him. None of our neighbors had seen anything. To this day, I don't know who he was or what he wanted, but I still wonder, was it random or had he been watching me for a long, long time?